Right now, a feeling stirs somewhere inside you, and it may have no name in your language. Yet in some village on the far side of the world, someone names it in a single word. They use it every day, and something strange happens. The moment you learn that word, the fog of that feeling takes a clear shape. Every language holds words that lose something when translated. A dictionary lists many words, yet the real feeling slips away. These are not just words, but how a people has felt the world for centuries. History, weather, and heart are folded into one word. Now we open a map of the world and seek these words, one by one. And at the end, an unexpected truth is waiting. Some words catch a shade of sorrow, some the color of joy. Others hold an entire attitude toward life. We begin in Korea. Here there is han. It is sorrow, injustice, and longing, piled up over time until they harden into something solid. No single English word fits. Dictionaries line up sorrow, resentment, and regret. Yet none of them is the whole of Han. But to Koreans, Han needs no explaining. It breathes inside the cracked voice of pansori, inside the refrain of an old folk song. Scholars say Han grew from the wounds of Korea's modern history. The heart of a generation that endured invasion, war, and poverty lives in this one syllable. Yet Han has two faces. It is a sinking sorrow, and at the same time, a quiet will to rise above it. We cross the Atlantic to Portugal. Here there is saudade. It is a sweet, aching longing for something that is no longer here. A person who won't return, a time you can't revisit. One word holds the whole tide of remembering. They say it grew between the sailors who left and the families who waited. The music called fado was born to sing this very feeling. With one guitar and one voice, a whole country shares the same longing. Neighboring Spain has sobremesa. It is the unhurried time still spent around the table, long after the meal is done. We go north to Denmark. Here there is hygge. It is the cozy contentment of candles, blankets, warm tea, and close company. It is how a land half a year in darkness names its happiness. It is also a wisdom. The harsher it is outside, the warmer it must be within. A few years ago, the word went global. Now cafes in Tokyo and New York sell hygge, and a name has turned a feeling into a product. Neighboring Sweden has lagom. It names a state that is not too much and not too little, but just right. Now we travel to Southern Africa. Here there is ubuntu. Put briefly, it means I am because we are. A person becomes whole only through their bonds with others. It points the opposite way from the Western I think, therefore I am. Nelson Mandela and Archbishop Tutu tried to build a nation of reconciliation on this one word. They chose to live together instead of taking revenge. Back in East Asia, we reach Japan. Here there is Monono Aware. It is the quiet sadness of knowing that all things must pass. Cherry blossoms are so beautiful, not because they bloom. They dazzle because everyone knows they will fall within a week. It is the sense that sorrow and beauty are in fact the same. One word holds this delicate mood that things matter more because they fade. The same Japan has wabi-sabi. It is a sense of beauty found in things that are broken, worn, and imperfect. Across Eurasia, we come to Russia. Here there is toska. The writer Nabokov called it a deep ache of the soul that arrives with no cause. It is to want something desperately without knowing what you want. That endless Russian winter mood lives in a single word. Some say all of Russian literature stands on this feeling. Tolstoy and Dostoevsky, in the end, were writing Toska. Here we must pause and ask a question. Are these words just pretty labels stuck onto feelings, or are they something more? Linguistics has a long-running debate. Can the language you speak actually change the way you see and feel the world? For over a century, scholars have quarreled over this question, and recent experiments have begun to offer clues. There is a famous experiment. Russian has two entirely separate words for light blue and dark blue, goluboi and sinyi. Shown many shades, Russian speakers told blues across that border apart faster than English speakers. The word changed even the speed of the eye. In Australian language, Gugu Yimithir has no words for left and right. Instead, it always uses the compass, so an ant sits south of your foot. As a result, its speakers know exactly which way they face, even inside a dark cave. The language planted a compass in their bodies. The Amazonian language Piraha has almost no words for numbers. Instead of 1 and 2, it splits the world into few and many. So its speakers struggle to handle exact large amounts. A concept your language lacks is hard even to think. Language does not fully decide our thoughts, but it clearly nudges what we pay attention to and which feelings we notice. So a word for a feeling is not merely a label. It is a lens that lets you look at that feeling at all. With this lens in hand, we look at the world again. Germany has Fernweh, a longing for distant places you have never seen, the opposite of homesickness. Japan again gives us komorebi. It is a word for one thing only, the sunlight that filters down through leaves. Once you know such a word, something odd happens. The light you used to walk past starts to catch your eye, and the name makes the scene visible. Germany also has Waldeinsamkeit. It is the calm fullness, not loneliness, of being alone, deep in a forest. The Swedish Mangata is the road-like reflection of the moon on water. People named that silver bridge on a night sea. At the very tip of South America, Yagan has Mamilapi Natapai. It is the look between two people who both want something, but neither will begin. It has been recorded as one of the most succinct words on earth. A moment that would take a whole novel. This language catches in one word. In the Arctic, Inuit has Ikshwarpok. It is the restless feeling that keeps sending you outside to check whether someone is finally coming. In the Philippines, Tagalog has Gigil. It is the irresistible urge to squeeze or bite something because it is unbearably cute. The Brazilian Cafoon is the act of gently running your fingers through a loved one's hair. Even that small tenderness has a name. Japan has Sundoku. Even the habit of buying books and letting them pile up unread has been given a name. Finland has Sisu. It is a stubborn courage that grits its teeth and endures long past the point where hope runs out. Do you see it now? Not only feelings, but attitudes, spirit, and ways of facing life. A language names each one and files it in its culture. Spain has Duende. It names the moment in flamenco when art seizes the soul completely, sending a shiver through you. Greece has Meraki. It is doing something, cooking or painting by pouring your whole soul and love into it. Italy has Abbiacco. It names the drowsy heaviness that washes over you after a big, satisfying meal. Norway has Utepils. It names the first beer you drank outdoors in the spring sun after a long winter ends. India's Hindi has Jugad. It means a clever, improvised fix that solves a problem with whatever little you have. By now, these words may feel like exotic treasures from faraway lands. But they are not. Your own language has them too. Think of the Korean nunchi. It is the delicate skill of quickly reading a room and someone's unspoken feelings, though no one says a word. The Korean jang is just as hard to carry over. It is a deep, unbreakable attachment built over time. Even affection grown through friction still counts. English has such words too. Serendipity is the joy of finding something wonderful you were not even looking for. A word other tongues envy. The Welsh hiraeth is an aching longing for a home you can never return to. Perhaps it is a distant cousin of Korea's han. Arabic has ya aburni. It means you bury me, a plea that you could never live to see the other one gone. Thousands of such words lie scattered across the world. Each has quietly built a home for one feeling, one moment, one way of living. Now we return to that unexpected truth from the start. A word does not merely describe a feeling, it lets you actually feel it. A named feeling grows sharp, an unnamed one drifts off like fog. A word builds a house where a feeling can live. If so, then learning a new language is not memorizing new words. It is gaining new feelings, one by one. Learn Han, and you begin to feel Korea's old sorrow. Learn ubuntu, and you are no longer alone. The word carries the heart across. It is like seeing an unfamiliar color for the first time. The moment it has a name, it finally enters your world. But here is a fact that stops us in our tracks. Even at this very moment, the world's languages are vanishing fast. Nearly half the world's languages are expected to fall silent this century, with their last speakers. Roughly one disappears every 2 weeks. And each time a language dies, the feelings only it could hold die with it. One entire way of feeling the world is erased forever. The Yagan language, which gave us Mamihlapinatapai, has already lost its last fluent speaker. The word for that look now survives only in a dictionary. The Caucasian language Uzbek had over 80 consonants. When its last speaker died, all that rich sound vanished too. When a language dies, the names of its herbs, its star stories, and its ancestral memory are erased too. Each language is a library. But this is exactly where hope begins. If feelings can travel through words, then as long as we record and learn them, the feelings survive. To learn a language is also to carry one fading feeling on its behalf. The fewer speakers a tongue has left, the more precious its words become. If today you learn one new word, that feeling goes on living inside you. This is how language leaps from person to person. Around the world, people record fading tongues, build dictionaries, and teach them to children again. It is a rescue of feeling. That is why we are gathering these words in one place. In LANGRA's Expressions Archive, you can see how one word, mother, water, split across the language families. Open the map and see 8,000 languages appear where they are spoken, with endangered tongues marked in red. This is today's LANGRA coordinate. And you may wonder what letters these feelings were written in. That story continues in the scripted playlist. Now we return to the question we began with. The world does not hold feelings you have failed to feel, only feelings whose names you have yet to learn. To learn another language is to gain one more way of feeling the world, and it is to hold a fading world a little longer. If this helped you, please subscribe, like, and turn on notifications.